Hey guys, I'm in the greenhouse again. What's new? Oh my gosh, look at the roots on that thing. So I've had these peppers in these little 3-inch pots maybe for the last few weeks, because obviously I planted my tomatoes a couple weeks ago, but I left the peppers for a later planting just so that I could make sure that the ground temperature was warm enough, because peppers really appreciate warmth, and I think that it's been hot enough in the greenhouse for long enough that the ground is nice and warmed up, and these peppers will appreciate the weight, I'm sure. They look like they're really ready to grow. This one's growing out of the pot and down into the ground. But since I've had to do the frost cloth on and off, and all of my extra, well, really all of my pepper starts are here and half of my tomato starts are in here, kind of in my walkway, I haven't been weeding. I've been weeding as much as I can, but it's not as much as I would like to. In this bed, it is getting a little bit weedy, but as you can see, the weeds that are there are really small. And I'm making this video as a reminder to myself to stay on top of the weeds while they look like this. Not when they're big and you have to hand pull them all out, because it's going to take 10 times longer. There's a chance that they've already set seed. Some weeds set seed at like tiny itty bitty, like you wouldn't think. Like you walk past it and you're like, I got time, and then you walk past it a couple more days and it's already dropped seeds on the ground. So one of the ways that I'm gonna stay on top of weeding, especially in here where the ground is pretty soft, is this wire weeder. So as you can tell if you've been watching my videos, I'm a fan of Connor Crickmore at Neversink Farm. So he comes up with these tools. This one's kind of a half homemade version that my dad made me, but he's got all different size tips that go on the end, but this gets the weeds while they're small and they're in the thread stage. So I know it's only April, it's almost May, but I'm really gonna try to stay on top of it. So basically you want to get the weeds when they look like this. When it's just tiny little strings of weeds. I had to be selective on what I put in this tunnel, and I concentrated on tomatoes and really a lot of cherry tomatoes, because I feel like that's what people are really excited about, like little snacking tomatoes, because I had a limited area in here. Now if I end up getting the bigger high tunnel, I did apply for an NRCS grant late last year, so I'm still waiting to hear back on that. But if I do get that, I will have a whole production tunnel of tomatoes and peppers, and I can plant a ton in there. But as of this year, most of my peppers and most of my tomatoes will be outside. But what I do have inside, I chose specifically for greenhouse production. So I did order a couple hybrid peppers, one of which being Sprinter. It's supposed to be a trellising type pepper that produces like red bell peppers, and a lot of them. So that's one I'm growing in here. The other variety that I'm growing in here that's a hybrid is lunchbox pepper, because those sweet little, snacking peppers, they're just delicious. I also have an heirloom variety that I got in a seed swap, that literally the only thing on the tag or the seed bag said what did it say? Multicolor sweet pepper. So the first year I grew it, it was a surprise. But it was like an open pollinated version of the lunchbox peppers, which I love. So I'm planting a ton of those outside too. But I just wanted to see if those compared to the hybrid version. And then I threw a couple shishitos in here because my family loves shishitos. So we just blister them in the pan or like roast them on like the grill or something. And then you dip them in this like, in any kind of dipping sauce really, but I dip them in like this mayo, lemon juice, and seasoning like garlic and paprika, salt and pepper. It's delicious. Like, we look forward to that being a dinner side, and we'll eat that as at dinner for like all summer, and we never get sick of it because that's the only time that you can have it, because they really don't preserve well. So I'm really excited for some shishito peppers all summer long, as well as just peppers in general. My son Hunter, he's my veggie eater out of all my kids, and he'll just snack on like a whole bell pepper, all kinds of veggies actually, but he loves peppers. So I'm gonna plant these in here. I'm only gonna do 2 rows of peppers. Ooh, there's lots of worms in just that one shovelful. That's a good sign, right? Oh yeah, this wanted to be planted. Normally I would use the 3/4 inch soil blocker to start all of my flower seeds really, and I wouldn't pot them up. I would just leave them in the small block for about 4 weeks and then transplant them out. But since I'm growing them all, or I'm starting them all in the greenhouse, and it gets really hot in here during the day, I'm kind of concerned about the soil blocks drying out too much and me not being able to keep enough water on the block. I might do some experiments with that, but as of right now, I've got these 128 cell trays that I'm gonna do majority of my flowers in. Who doesn't love a good zinnia? They're the best. They're so easy to grow. They pretty much flower. Last year we had a drought and I didn't even water them, and they all bloomed fine. They sent up 1,000,000 blooms. They were so easy to grow, but my only thing that I'm changing this year is I am doing them in succession. So instead of doing one giant planting of zinnias, I'm going to do about 3 smaller plantings of zinnias. So the zinnia will bloom your whole season, but if you're going at it for cut flowers that you're going to sell, you really need fresh blooms, because as the plant ages it just kind of gets sickly and the blooms don't look as good. And also, if you're growing the Baneri Giant that makes like the big blooms, the longer that they're blooming, the smaller the blooms get. And so my favorite Baneri Giant colors are the salmon rose. I really like that pinky corally color. I like the purple queen. It's like a big purple one. What else? I like the Oklahoma series, which are the little ones. They're probably like this big around, 1.5 to 2 inches. And most of them are fully double, and they just look like little cupcakes sitting on there. But it'll fill a bouquet, and you can use more per bouquet rather than the giant zinnias. I like all the Queen series, and I might be controversial because everyone's favorite Queen zinnia is the red. I hate it. I think it's ugly. It's like a weird muted mauve color, but like not in a good way. It's not my favorite color palette. I like the Queen Lime Orange and the Queen Lime Peach and the Queen Lime. Those are my favorite. I think a lot of the zinnias I'm going to direct sow. This first flush I'm going to transplant. And I might change my mind as the season goes on. And I'm going to do these fun. Don't those look fun? Some hot colors. Alright, it's seed starting part 2. It's the next day. I never finished the video yesterday, but I've got just, I mean, tons. So sometimes when you order flower seeds, I don't have that much experience, but I know GeoSeed does it. The tiny itty bitty seeds will come pelleted, but I don't pay attention enough to know that. And so when I do get them, they come in these little vials. And it just makes me feel like a scientist. Like I'm getting out my... But they look like this. Tiny. I am seeding right now. It's Frosted Explosion Grass. So it makes a really fun filler in a bouquet. And you can use it when it's small and it looks like a little firework. Or as it grows, it will spread out and make these like big... I've got seeds in my hand, so I can't do it. But like big, spread out, like sparkly little filler. I love it. So my filler for the flowers this year, I loved, and I did not grow enough, so I want to start more. Euphorbia, it's Snow on the Mountain. I've heard it's like this variegated green and white foliage, and it's beautiful. It makes tiny white flowers, but you don't grow it for the flowers. You grow it for the leaves. But I loved it. I did not grow enough, so I want to like triple the amount that I'm growing this year. It is sensitive to harvest times. Like it likes to wilt in the vase, so you have to pay attention to maturity. More so than other kinds of fillers, but I'm still gonna grow her because she's pretty. What else am I growing for filler? I'm growing basil for filler because it's super easy. The flowers are pretty. It gives it a good smell. I like mints, different kinds of mints for filler. This is one of my very favorite. It's called Rose Mint. I got it from Baker Creek. But then it's super easy to save the seeds on. So whenever I get a pack of something, especially one that has a pretty picture, like on Baker Creek's packaging, I will keep this. Like this was for 2021. So this is 2-year-old, but I keep the packaging so that I know what the picture looks like. But I just put them in my own little baggies. You can tell this is home safe seeds because it has the outside of it on there, but I do that. I like this one, has purple flower. So I grow a lot of food that can double as flowers. Cilantro is really good because it bolts really fast, but then once it does bolt, you can use it in 2 ways. So it produces these like white like kind of umbel-ish flowers, but then if you let it go past that white flower stage, it makes the seed heads, because cilantro, when it goes to seed, is coriander, and so it makes these like green balls. It just makes a lot of interest in a bouquet. I love growing that for that. And then the grasses. So I'm going to try, or I'm doing Frosted Explosion grass, and I've done that last year, so I have experience there. Another one I'm growing this year is Feathertop grass, so it makes that like pretty floofy, because I want to dry a lot of flowers this year. So I'm growing a lot of strawflower, status, celosia, things that dry really easily and well. I'm going to do. I have tons of variety of celosia. I guess this is my flower, what I'm growing in my flower farm episode. Another kind of grass that I'm growing this year is green drops. It makes this really pretty seed head. That's what they use it for. Kind of like amaranth in a way, but not 100% like amaranth. So I'm excited for that. Also, another thing that I like to use as filler filler is Cosmo foliage. So last year I did not grow enough, especially in the early season, filler for a bouquet. And so Cosmo foliage is like this frilly, like thin leaved thing, but it holds up really nicely when you cut just the greenery. And so I loved using that in bouquets. I am not a flower expert by any means. Like, I like growing flowers. I think it's beautiful. I think it's fun. It brings pollinators to your garden. But if I had to choose, like, I'm a food girl through and through. I love growing food. It's just so satisfying. Like, I'm not a houseplant girl. I have a couple, but I always end up killing them because they don't give me anything. Like, on flowers and on, especially on, you know, like vegetable crops, I'm planting this so that it can give me something in return, whether it's food or flowers or whatever. But houseplants ain't giving me nothing. It's just another job to do, is to remember to water this thing so it doesn't die. So I used to think that I was never going to be a good gardener because I always tried to grow houseplants. And I always killed them every single time. I just would forget to water them and they would die. But turns out I'm just not that kind of gardener, and it's fine. I can grow lots of things. I can also kill lots of things. So if you're a plant killer out there, there's still hope for you. It happened for me, you know? I think I did it. You guys, it has been a long 2 days. I used to love starting seeds, and I do when it's winter out and I don't have anything else to do. I can just dream about gardens. But when you're in the crunch time and you're not just starting seeds, like I've got stacks, you're not just starting seeds for like your own home garden, you're starting like thousands upon thousands of seeds. It really starts to get stressful. But I have successfully started my first round of flower seeds. So my first succession that I was gonna transplant is done. And if I forgot anything, then it must not be that important, right? But now tomorrow, I've already ran out of time for the day because it's Friday and it's 4 o'clock, and I'm not gonna work past 4 today. I'm gonna go inside, maybe watch a movie with my kids. But tomorrow I get to start my real true love, and it's all the squash I was telling you about. So squash, cucumbers, okra, lettuce. Oh my gosh, I'm already late on a round of lettuce. Does anybody else have to write lists? I can't live my life without a list. I will forget everything that I was supposed to do ever if it's not on a piece of paper. But I think this is where I'm gonna end today. So you guys enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed day. Thank you for watching. Until next time.